Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all of our witnesses for being here this morning for our first hearing of the 119th Congress. We have so much important work to do for the American people, and I'm glad we're starting with this critical issue of pro-growth tax reform. Before I get too deep into my remarks, I wanted to briefly discuss an op-ed that I wrote for the Telegraph. I'm deeply concerned that the OECD is working very hard to finalize Pillar 2 guidance before the change of administrations next week. My House Ways and Means colleagues and I have long warned that the Pillar 2 agreement, which mandates a global minimum tax, implements a UTPR provision, and unfairly treats U.S. tax credits, is detrimental to our country's tax sovereignty, to American ingenuity, the federal treasury, and our national economy. Our allies will be best served by partnering with the incoming administration, not the one halfway out the door. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to submit this op-ed for the record.
Without objection.
For the past 4 years, the Kansans I represent and Americans across the country have suffered under historic inflation thanks to the damaging policies of the outgoing administration. Kansans need economic relief, and the Trump tax cuts are a surefire way to deliver it. It's pretty simple. Without the Trump tax cuts, taxes on nearly every American will go up. The average taxpayer in Kansas will pay over $2,200 more in taxes if the Trump tax cuts are allowed to expire. But by extending the 2017 tax cuts, we will avoid this tax hike and allow Americans to keep more of their hard-earned money. By making the Trump tax cuts permanent, we'll do more than just provide sorely needed relief to individuals and families. These tax cuts also help the businesses and innovators who create and sustain countless jobs in communities across our country, leading to job creation and economic growth. We can't go backwards from the growth that we've gotten out of 2017 to lose all of these benefits. Key to this success was the immediate R&D expensing provision. After the Trump tax cuts, R&D investment grew by 18%, amounting to over $2 trillion in new facilities and activities. Extending immediate expensing for R&D would generate over $70 billion in new investment and support over 21 million jobs. We also have the advantage of knowing how beneficial immediate R&D expensing is, as we've had 3 years to see the damage and hardship that happens without it. Since immediate R&D expensing expired in 2022, we've seen investment in R&D drop from over a 6.5% increase each year to less than 0.5% per year. That means we have less economic growth, fewer jobs for American workers, and less tax revenue. In the recent jobs reports, we've seen some job growth, but not manufacturing jobs. We're competing globally for jobs and investments, and without immediate R&D expensing, we risk again losing good innovators, jobs, and dollars to other countries like China that are instead choosing to incentivize R&D investments. We can't afford to fall behind on the international stage this way. I also want to highlight that, as mentioned earlier, that in January, the House of Representatives showed it's possible to find consensus on this common sense pro-growth policies by passing the Tax Relief for American Families and Workers Act. Not only did this legislation pass, but it passed with huge bipartisan support, 357 to 40. Given the American people's desire for change in our economic trajectory, I'm hopeful that this committee and this Congress can once again come together to deliver meaningful tax reform that will boost the economy and allow Americans to keep more money in their pocket. Ms. Silver, some people wrongly conceive of the business provisions in Trump tax cuts as handouts or special treatments for business. Can you share how business provisions like immediate R&D expensing allowed you to reinvest in your business to support your employees and customers?
Sure. Thank you for the question, Congressman. Manufacturing is a total team sport. So this expired R&D tax provision has affected my customers and it's affected my suppliers. So no matter what your size or structure of your business, we are affected by this. And I can give you an example. I run my entire business on a software, on an ERP system it's called, and the company that has built that software is in Texas, and they were dramatically affected. Their tax liability went up by a lot after this R&D tax revision expired, and so that's less. They have less ability to reinvest their profits to create new jobs, to innovate the product that I use every day to run my business. So there's a ripple effect, definitely to me.
Yep.
And that's
We're-
just one example.
That's right, and we're hearing it over and over with different, because of the cash flow cost and not being able to write off that expenses on their taxes, that you're not getting the benefits and therefore your customers aren't getting the benefits. So thank you, and unfortunately I'm out of time. I've got more questions, but I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman.